What is up? Okay, everybody, let's rock and roll. Hi, Group Coach Nation. I have Victoria Fusco here today, and this is a really interesting one. So, as y'all know, we here at Group Coach Nation have this show just so you can kind of peek inside of actual group coaching programs and see case studies and see what people are really doing out there. So, I met Victoria, a month or 6 weeks ago. She was in a group session that we had one afternoon. And I was like, oh my gosh, like people need to like peek under the hood and see how you're doing this, because especially in a corporate or bigger business setting, people struggle with how do I get out of the one-on-one, one company to one to like one to many. So
yeah,
Victoria, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
This is great. Okay, so Victoria, here's how we do this. I just ask a bunch of questions that I'm curious about because I love tinkering with these business models. So let me just ask you questions. First of all, give us a little, before we break into like, here's the exact model I use and here's how I do it. Give us a little bit of background, like on what you do, who you help, the market you're in, that kind of thing. Just like, okay, I get your business.
Yeah. So we do leadership, but kind of zoomed into that is more soft skill focused. And we actually walk through and solve problems for companies. So we do company partnerships to work with every single department to solve team dynamic issues. So it's conflict outside of HR, really digging into the why and relationship building between entry-level employees, middle management to executives, executives to owners. So that's kind of how we serve. And we really like to focus on more labor heavy companies like manufacturing, industrial, logistics, supply chain, anything where the company needs a warm body, not necessarily qualifications for who they're hiring. Not saying that those people aren't qualified, but they're really more worried about just getting feet in the door and making sure that they get product or service out.
Okay, and you work with some tech in that have larger virtual teams as well. Is that true?
Yes. Yeah. So one of our micro focuses is creating culture via Zoom, via virtual processes and different things like that. So we work a lot with tech companies when it comes to that. But we really like to focus on the labor. But even labor, the executives sometimes are in virtual spaces. So really just learning how to make that connection, even if they're not in the same room.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Got it. Yep. All right, cool. So how big are these companies?
They can range from anywhere. 50 is kind of our minimum with employee count, but we like to stay between 100 and 500 employees just because that's kind of the tipping point to becoming corporate and having everything in-house. So we like to work with those companies. There's usually a lot of rapid growth happening in that, which means a lot of team dynamic issues.
Okay. All right. I love this. So larger groups of people that have, and companies that have their own internal issues going on.
Yeah.
Okay. So you told me before that you spend about 50-50 time split with some one-on-one coaching or just you and that company versus group. Can you kind of explain how, real briefly, just what is the one-on-one stuff all about? What is the group stuff all about? So people can see what you're able to pull into a group versus having to keep one-on-one.
Yeah. A lot of companies actually are really opposed to group. It's funny because they don't trust each other, right? So we use one-on-one to really pull out the honest truth about what is really going on and use that time to really work in, well, why can't you connect? Why don't you trust this person? And then maybe get them in the same room and kind of facilitate a transformation. And then in the group setting, we're really learning what we're teaching everybody. So that's like the biggest thing about group coaching is you have to understand what you're teaching, and it can't just be like fly by the seat of your pants. You actually have to have a curriculum, a process, a way of doing things. But once you have that, when you get in that group setting, you can facilitate that education in a much quicker manner, and it still costs the same as doing one-on-one, but your time is less. So that's kind of how we kind of manage that without having to meet one-on-one with every single person in a company. I mean, because you think about it, they've got 500 employees. Us meeting with 500 people even a couple times a year is a little much. It's a lot of time. So
that's a big deal. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you ever put different by the way, is my audio okay right now? I realize I'm in a coffee shop. Can y'all hear me okay?
It's a little louder than before, but it's not bad. I can hear you.
Okay. I can unloud it. Okay. All right, so tell me this. How, like, are you mixing multiple companies? Are you training like managers or certain types of people from different companies in the same setting? Or is it only a group that's within the same corporate wrapper?
Yeah, so it has more to do with our sales process, if people are mixed or not. So if we're not having an entire company partnership, then we'll usually grab a couple managers from there, put them into a public group coaching program where, again, it's just more like identifying what needs to be fixed. So we use it almost as a health assessment for their team or their company, where we say, if you're not ready to partner yet, let's pull in a couple of your managers and let's go through this 6-week training program. Or we have one that's 12 months, that's women focused. And really, it's just to unveil the problems, fix it immediately. Unveil a problem, fix it immediately. That way, when we send them back to the company, they're able to really show what we can do in the one person. And so hopefully we secure a contract like that. If it's a company partnership, normally those groups are everybody all together in the same company. And that's more like exclusivity. So they're paying a little bit more to have that exclusivity with us. But these companies have so many employees, it's like we got to put everybody in the same room anyways,
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. How did you arrive at what you're doing now with this model? Like, people are all over the place on this. So how did you get where you are now?
Yeah. Well, I started over 10 years ago with a marketing agency, events and marketing for client success. I had my own team of W2, and through just learning trial by fire with myself of what not to do, I have a whole book on what not to do. I also started coaching my clients under the table on how to keep their team, because marketing was a nice to have, not a need to have. And so in order for me to re-sign contracts, I would see my clients and they're like, I can't keep my team. I don't know if I can keep paying for marketing. It's not something I can prioritize. That scared me, obviously. So, started working with them on, all right, here's what I'm experiencing. How do you fix it? Let's try it. Let's figure it out for free, but really good at documentation. And so in 2020, just realized marketing wasn't my thing. And looked back on all my notes and my documentation and realized, wow, I have a curriculum of what to do and what not to do. So kind of had my Phoenix moment, burnt it down, and rebuilt a virtual coaching business focused on team dynamics and team management, which turned into leadership.
That is a really scary move. Like, I
Yes.
applaud you for making that move. So many of us have had to do that,
Yeah.
And I'm sure you had done that prior to that. Like, we've all burnt many things down. You're like, oh my gosh, I gotta freaking do it again. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But it's different when you're burning down a service versus a whole business to change industry. That is like, but that's entrepreneurship, right?
That's such a good point. Okay. All right. So since we got you here, you mentioned before the interview, you mentioned a few 3 words, like these words I really wanted to break down.
Yes.
Connection, delegation, communication. So this is for all of us just listening or watching in. Like, give us a little bit of cheat code on this. When we're all building teams here.
Absolutely.
Give us a little bit of breakdown on connection, delegation, communication.
Yeah, so this is kind of from zoomed out, and it kind of zooms in: connection, delegation, communication. Where a lot of people like to start is connection, which is culture, quote unquote. So it's really, how do I, build a good team, bonding? What does that look like? Do I have time for myself, right? So connection is really all about self-leadership, and really understanding that it starts from us, and it starts from what are we putting out as an example, and are we doing the thing we're asking of our team first before we're asking our team? So that's kind of where that starts. Delegation is really in that middle management, where how do you actually manage people? What does delegation actually mean? So for us, this is all about listening more than you talk, being able to facilitate a conversation versus problem solving. So, I mean, I know a lot of people watching right now, and Chris, you too, have ever come in and a team member has a problem and you go right into solving their problem. Probably doesn't help them, right? It's the same thing as when we call a friend and we just want to complain and they solve our world's problems. So that it doesn't feel good. A lot of us just want to be heard. So that's really what delegation is. And communication is really focused on tone of voice, body language, really understanding how are we communicating here first before we start to judge anybody else on how they're communicating, and understanding that everybody's perspective on the world is really based on their own personal experiences and usually has nothing to do with us. So really it's kind of a 1, 2, 3, but it works because you got to learn it like layer by layer on how yourself works and how everybody else works.
I love how that's so like I think this is like the both and of this. So in some ways, very self-centered. What you did, like self-centered meaning you could be like, I need to take care of me and fix me as the manager or leader.
Yeah.
Before I can start fixing somebody else. Yeah. And then
yes.
And then also not self-centered in the sense that it's requiring me to actually like stop thinking about my needs and my
Yes.
opinions and listen.
Yes.
Love that.
Yes, absolutely. A lot of the people that we meet with, they it's mostly executives, and they all think it's everybody else. And I'm like, that's fine. We work with everybody else first, but sometimes they just have to see it that, okay, they're starting to do what they can, and that is self-reflection enough for them to say, oh, I'm not even doing what they're doing. They've changed. I need to change. So it's hard. It can hit the ego a little bit, but it starts and ends with you.
It's so funny because so many management or leadership books are like, it's all about the people are everything.
Yeah, I know.
But the more we hire, the more we're like, yeah, but they're not as good as me. Like, well, then you hired the wrong person or you don't believe in it. Like, come on.
Exactly.
Come on.
Exactly. A lot of self-work and all that. It takes a long time, that's for sure.
Also, one thing you mentioned in delegation, you didn't go down the path of creating SOPs and all that stuff. You went down the path of like, hey, it's about communication, and it's about listening to someone's. This is something I've had to learn so hard over the years.
Yeah.
Delegation is not just an SOP, go do this.
Mm-hmm.
It's because people are going to come back and ask you questions, and eventually you're not going to get free of the task.
Yeah.
But when you brought this up, so I'm just going back to this.
Yeah.
When you get to say, hey, tell me what's going on in your decision-making process.
Mm-hmm.
What are you thinking about? Why are you coming to this question? What would you do if it was you? It's people around you. They know what to do. They just kind of need permission to be okay with what they know what to do,
Yes. And what we find a lot of times is when managers or leaders finally put that into practice, that is the first time that person has ever been given power to make their own decisions. So it kind of goes out of the workplace and into personal life, where we're really, creating a ripple effect of positive change in people's personal life to hopefully take those values and put them into their life to change the world around them. When I know that's a little woo-woo, out there, but that's the end goal when it comes to leadership. It goes way beyond the workforce.
I love that. I love the size company you work with too, because they're not mega corporate yet, but anybody trying to make that jump has to get past. I used to lead a team of 200, and it was a huge jump for me.
Yeah.
And a really messy one. And anybody listening to this process from that team, I'm so sorry you had to learn with me. So the jump the jump was hard for all of us. The jump was hard because I had to go from like just a solopreneur to a team of 2 or 3, which is like, oh yeah, get some time back. Somebody's managing my inbox and a few projects, right?
Yeah.
To no, someone now is leading a part of this organization in a direction, and I don't have a freaking clue what they're doing on a Tuesday.
Yep.
And they're running their part of the ship. And that's a huge jump. But oh my gosh, that's the only way to get past a scale moment, because we can't scale and grow. As you know, I'm talking to everybody out there. We can't scale and grow until we get away from ourselves. We have to become the non-issue and the person who's not in the way, and shift to a role of more, hey, I'm here to promote the brand. I'm here to meet with key partners, maybe those kinds of bigger things, but no more the day in, day out, which is a really hard thing to do as a founder.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of the middle management that we work with, they realize they actually don't like managing because they didn't realize, what it actually meant. It wasn't very clear because a lot of people don't understand what it actually means to be a leader, to be a manager, to manage people. It is not being good at your job. Everybody does that, every company. And if you're listening, you're a business owner, do not do this. Take someone who's really good at what they do and promote them to manager. That is the worst thing that you could do, unless they want to be a manager and they no longer want to do the thing. But being a manager is not doing the thing. It is, like you said, it's having meetings, it's facilitating conversations, it's encouraging people, empowering people, and that's something in delegation we talk about, micromanaging versus empowering. Like, what does that actually mean and how do we do that? So it's a whole nother ball game when you are managing people, and it can feel like babysitting. We get that a lot. It feels like babysitting. It's like,
It does feel like babysitting. Yeah. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're good. No, it does. It feels like babysitting because we have to sit and facilitate emotions. You almost feel like the company therapist. But that's what it is. That's what the role is.
It is so true. That's such a great way to say it.
Yeah.
Okay. More questions, but in case
Yeah.
people have to split this episode up, the LeaderHQ.com is the name of her website. So Victoria Fusco at the Leader, TheLeaderHQ.com, just like it sounds, right there on the screen. If you're listening, the Leader HQ. We'll put it in the show notes and all the stuff where you found this book. By the way, if you have questions about what she's talking about, like how she's doing stuff, if you're like, oh my gosh, I need her in my organization, you want to reach out to Victoria, please just either reach out. We're going to tag her in this episode and try to put links in there. But if you can't find those, leave us a message and we'll make that connection. Like, this is not our jam. This is not our expertise. This is Victoria's world.
Thank you.
Okay. Team dynamics. All right. So you're focused on team dynamics in your group coaching process.
Yes.
Do you talk a little more about the group coaching process? Are you curriculum driven, a certain number of weeks? Like, how did you develop and design, we now have a group thing? Because people have so many questions about how long should it be? Do I need a curriculum before I start? Do I just fly by the seat of my pants? Like, how did you start this whole thing up?
Yeah. Again, just kind of looking back at notes and being able to be guided at the time. I was really heavily following LeaderHQ, who was my coach for a little bit. She kind of teaches on how to really pull out your personal knowledge and put it to paper so that you don't have to always do one-on-ones. You don't always have to make it up as you go, because a lot of coaches, I meet with so many coaches that ask the same question: how do I get out of one-on-one? And it's just document your processes. Document. Even if it's on a sticky note, like just silly little things. It doesn't matter. If you have a 1, 2, 3, right? How long do you think it took me to go connection, delegation, and communication? It was just a bullet point for me. These are the 3 things that are really focused. So it's really just being able to sit down, take the time, and it's hard as an entrepreneur to focus, but use the Pomodoro method. Was it 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off? I use that all the time. It helps if you're ADHD, put on some music in the background, whatever it takes. Go for a walk. I love voice audio record. I do that more than I write things. So even if it's just walking out and saying, what is the problem that I come to with clients most often? That was my question. What is the actual problem that I'm dealing with? How do I normally walk through it with someone? And again, voice audio is great for that. If you're used to one-on-one, go through the voice audio and pretend like you have a client on the other side and think of the past ones that you've done. And then get in your seat and write it down, document it. Just start a brain dump and then start organizing from there. So it took a couple years for me to really clean it up. I think last year was the last time I really refined it. But even so, I go back every single year and I refine my curriculum, because as we work with more people, it's just more case studies and more data to be able to read and create. That's a little nerdy, but if you go in and if you like case studies and you like data, you should be able to create a curriculum. And when you do that, that's what you lean on to teach people in a group setting, because it's no longer one-on-one specific problems. You start to see patterns that aren't specific to one person, right? And then there's a whole nother, area of expertise you have to walk through that buyer psychology for them to realize that one-on-one, you still get one-on-one in group. It just might look different, right? If you have a Facebook group, it might look like you're commenting on the post they asked a question. One-on-one could look like hot seats in a group. So it can look a little different, and you're always going to have pushback, because something that I have experienced is people don't want to keep their power. The moment they get a coach, they try to give it away, and they want them to tell them what to do. And this is even true in leadership and delegation. We teach in conflict, like, ask them what the solution is. Don't give them the solution. So it's the same thing with coaching, right? But self-determination theory. Have you heard this one, Chris? Do you know this one?
Yeah. Please explain. Yeah.
I love it. I
love where you're going with all this.
It's literally the definition of coaching is someone who, if they find their own solution, is more inclined to see the result over and over and over again. So that is all you have to do. Get them to their own answer, and you have to empower them to do so. And in a group setting, I will say it's a little harder because they feel like one-on-one is really where they get it. But that's really more of a failure on you as a coach if they feel like that. So you have to sit with that and go, okay, how can I improve so that they feel like they're really getting something out of this? And that's something I visit all the time in my group, because sometimes people are like, I think I just want a one-on-one. I'm like, whoa, that's on me. How can I change that for next time? What did I do? So I go back and watch my recordings and take notes and stuff, but always improving, right?
that last 3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever. This is
I
worth
know.
the
I'm
whole
sorry.
episode.
I'm so long-winded.
No, that is like, what are you talking about? That is so good. All of this is like so spot on. Love every bit of that. I'm not going to add anything to all that. That's brilliant.
That's so funny.
Love it.
But yeah,
You're really good at what you do.
self-determination is really what it is. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, you're so good at what you do. I love the point you brought. Self-determination theory is perfect for this example, and I love the idea, and it's true that we don't like owning our own problem and solution design because it's so hard and we might fail.
Yes.
And it's so much easier to hand that to the coach and say, well, I'm just going to take a deep breath, do what you say to do, trust the process. But hey, folks, trust the process is awesome. And you're in charge of your own bank account and your own destiny. So trust the process, work hard, keep your eyes open, and stay alert. That's all that combined is a good thing.
Yeah, it's like the whole manifestation prayer thing. It's like, yes, that's good, but you also have to take action. You have to walk forward. Like it's a two-part. You got to do both.
Yeah, I once heard an old preacher say, it's a long time ago. I don't know where I got this quote from. But anyway, he said, old preacher, right? Old preacher.
Yeah.
He said, pray with a hoe in your hands. And I've always, as an entrepreneur, I've taken that like through my whole life.
Yeah.
I'm praying these crops work out, but I'm hoeing that field like crazy.
You have to do something. Yep, exactly. I love that. Yeah, you can't just sit there. You got to get up and do it. But that's the hard part about being a coach is, especially if you come from a consultant world, which I kind of came from that. So, making that switch is difficult. But the first step to recovery is awareness, right?
This is great. Oh my gosh. I love this episode. Okay, fantastic. All right. So again, the LeaderHQ.com is where you can find Victoria. I would go check out her website anyway. She's doing group coaching. She's doing it effectively. If you're here to learn about group coaching and you're not her client, go see what she's doing because it's a really good example of how to do group coaching in a corporate setting if that's your niche in the world. So the LeaderHQ.com. And if you know somebody who should be working with her or you should work with her, ask her questions, reach out. That's always welcome from any business standpoint. I don't know of any business, Victoria, who's like, no, we don't want any more clients. I mean, I guess you can go out there, but that's kind of a,
they're like, no, we've got it under control. And then they add 10 more people and then they call us. They're like, this is totally different.
Yep. I know. We don't want any more clients, but we got that countdown timer and we have this one-off sale going on today, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
So leave us with whatever you would say to the person listening who's like, okay, I really want to make this plunge into group coaching or building a mastermind or whatever they want to call it, something like that.
Yeah.
What's the one or two things you'd say you got to freaking start here?
Yeah. Again, just document your processes. Like start with some kind of outline. Again, even if it's on a sticky note, just write something down so that you have a plan to walk through it. And just start to be aware in your one-on-one that you're doing. How do you normally navigate problems? What kind of questions are you asking? What kind of problems are they having? Where are they coming up to resistance in the coaching call is also very important. Because that will usually be a pattern across your group coaching as well. There, 5 out of 10 is having resistance, right? In delegation, what does that mean? We need to dig a little deeper, right? How do we overcome objections? So just ask a lot of questions for yourself and be aware and document. Make sure you write it down.
Love that. Okay. Group Coach Nation, Victoria Fusco. Love all of this. The LeaderHQ.com. As always, we say here all the time, Victoria, do work, get results. Just please do the right work.
Yes.
So, and she said that so many times. Victoria, you're so brilliant at this.
Thank you.
If you want more information about group coaching, groupcoachnation.com is our website. Groupcoachnation.com. Just Google that. You'll find it. It's easy. If you want to connect with Victoria, the LeaderHQ.com or whatever links you can find wherever you're finding this right here.
Yeah.
Victoria, thank you. Thank you for your time. Thanks for letting us peek inside the back room of the business to see how it really works.
Yeah, no, I love this. I love getting asked questions. I don't get asked questions a lot, so I can do this all day. Thank you.
Speaking on more stages that are about corporate leadership and delegate and that kind of thing versus tell us about what's going on for real inside the business. I love it.
Yeah, yep, exactly. No, I love getting to share and hopefully, your audience got something out of it today. If you did get something out of it, please let me know because I am a data person. What is it that you learned that you love so that I can, maybe touch on that in the next ones that I do.
Love it. And a data person. You're awesome. Okay. Group Coach Nation, do work, get results. Just as I said before, please do the right work. And this has been a great little primer on, oh, that's the right stuff. Yeah, that's the right stuff. Victoria, it's a privilege talking to you. Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, rock on. Do the stuff. You know what to do.